Default track settings. How do you set them up? How does it work? Well, this is an incredibly handy feature if you know how to use it properly. So let's get into it. In the top left hand corner, we're going to click the cog setting. That is going to take us to our main settings, and in the right hand column you can see we have default track settings. Now these are the settings applied whenever a track is imported into SOLOstudio. And every time you modify this, those are the settings that are applied to every newly imported track, not the current tracks that are already in there. So for example, if I was to turn off every single feature and I was to put the volume to minimum and go back, if I was now to import a different song, so let's try Arctic Monkeys here, when that song is imported, you can see from the icons underneath that track tile that nothing is enabled. If I go into the track, you can see that everything is turned off and our volume is set to minimum. Whereas, if I was now to go back into default track settings, turn the volume up, enable fade and fade out, a delay, loop, and I'm going to enable every single feature. Everything's on. So now, as soon as I bring in a new track, let's call it the Baywatch theme, why not? You can see that's come in with everything on. Autoplay next track, all of the icons are illuminated, and if I go into the track, you can see everything is enabled and turned on. And obviously, if you're importing multiple tracks and want them to have similar settings, this is a great way of doing it. So what I would normally do is I would go to my default track settings, and normally I like to have on double tap, I normally have override on, and I normally set these two fade in and fade outs. Fade in 2 seconds, fade out 2 seconds, and then my volume I always leave on the maximum and I tweak that individually. But now this means that every track that I bring in has those same settings. So let's go for the Batman transition sound effect. So there you can see it's coming with the fade in, fade out. There is my little man icon which tells me override is on, and if I go inside the track settings, you can see everything is set up exactly as it was in the default track settings. What's important to mention is that by changing the default track settings, you're not changing any existing tracks inside SOLOstudio. You're only changing what parameters and settings will be applied to tracks that are then imported into SOLOstudio. So I hope that helps you, and good luck importing all of those tracks into SOLOstudio.